Uh, I've been trying to work on my pinky muscles,
I
Mike.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. You caught me exercising my pinky there. We're the first to last, the Nerdom. I'm Thomas. I'm here with Mike, and we've got a multiverse epic size podcast, don't we?
Oh my
Today.
gosh. Had I known, had I been a little bit more on the ball, I would have said we should have done another multiverse one because I am fascinated by this concept of multiverses, etc. The one I'm talking about is a Jet Li movie, but
Mhm.
that's not on play this week. But it is interesting. The boy, I have some thoughts for this one.
Yeah, we're talking about everything everywhere all at once. Now, I was I first saw it as just a trailer in front of a random YouTube video I watched, and when I saw it, I was skeptical. In this modern times that we find ourselves, I saw this female led movie about a multiverse, and I just kind of groaned in that. I thought maybe it'd be some crazy some woman empowerment movie where she's super powerful and is just yeah, just running through all the various universes was all super powered, but that's not the movie that we actually get. And
No,
actually I think the trailer doesn't smartly doesn't reveal a whole lot to the movie, and that's good because you need to be surprised when you see the movie.
yeah, I literally, I mean, I went into this pretty blind. I mean, I'd heard this movie was out. That's about it. And as it wore on, as it went on, I developed ideas and whatnot. But I was this was a nice surprise.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
for lack of
and like I
anything
said,
else, it was very nice.
yeah, and like I was saying, I was kind of initially turned off by it, but Red Letter Media really loved it. The Your Movie Sucks guy I really loved it, and a couple other people that I respect their opinion, and they really loved it too. So I was like, there's got to be something to this. So yeah, I definitely wanted to see it after that, and I know that the two there's two different guys that directed and wrote it, both named Dan or Daniel, and they also they did one other movie, Swiss Army Man. I haven't seen that one yet, but I've heard good things about that one too, and it being weird as well. So um that was another one I guess we could have paired with this. We keep we always like to do a double feature where we can, but I think there's enough here that we can talk for a good while about.
Yeah, I think and I mentioned this before in our pre gaming before we jumped online here. I was gonna say something. I was like, oh, be quiet, Mike. Wait for the podcast. But that was specifically about this is a perfect movie if there ever was for there to be like a graphic novel. And
Mhm,
if such thing existed, this graphic novel would, I mean, it would rule the
mhm,
world in its own right,
yep.
whether it was manga or comics or whatever,
Mhm,
whatever genre it came out in.
mhm,
But this was like, this had the hallmarks of like a really good storyline. And it was in the movie. The movie was
mhm.
very good. I was surprised again by it, but wow, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and
For sure.
the basic story is there it's about a family, and they have a laundromat that's having some financial trouble, so they go to see their IRS agent. That's basically what the movie's about. And but no, there's at the
Kinda.
yeah, the IRS building where they were meeting with their agent. The main character, Evelyn, she finds out from her husband that her multiverse version of her husband that she's sort of the center of the universe, and she's tasked with saving the universe.
Right.
And yeah, and on my research, I was kind of curious how this came about. And one of the Daniels, Daniel Kwan, he came to the other Daniel after watching a double feature of I believe it was uh Fight Club and The Matrix, and he says, "I got a movie idea about a multiverse."
Yeah,
And
yeah, for sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, and so the other guy goes, I could work with that. And then they originally thought to do it with Jackie Chan as the main character. And I would assume that, I guess, it would maybe have spotlighted or focused in on Evelyn's husband. But they quickly, or I don't know how soon they changed it, but then Daniel Kwan started thinking, you know, what would a movie be like if we made the kind of movie that we want to make, but we put our mom as the main protagonist? How would that work? And so that's basically what they did. And there's there's a very much a through line for the movie of the absurd in making the absurd work. You can make something absurd and just throw it out onto the screen. That, this movie at times reminded me quite heavily of Tim and Eric, but a lot of their sketches are just kind of absurd just to be absurd, whereas they're actually throwing something absurd out there, but then trying to pull a meaning out of it and make a cohesive storyline, which isn't easy.
No, there was a lot of threads here in the, like, once you kind of and this is true for a lot of technology things that you learn, like new platforms. Sometimes engineers can overcomplicate things that they need to be. That's what I was kind of reminded by this, where it's just like, if you just zero that out and just watch what you're seeing and let it be simple, you understand mom, dad, daughter, grandpa, dad, like you understand, like there's like these threads that kind of extend from the main characters out. And martial arts is a very big part of this too. I should say, like, how the rules I'm still kind of fuzzy on.
Yeah.
And I'll be very, very happy later on after we do our podcast. Like, I really want to do this, but I didn't. I really want to kind of throw this out to YouTube and like nerd out on it and like kind of understand like what the powers are and like how they did it, and kind of like, okay, so like the analog that I would pivot to would be like every horror movie, like, and I'm talking about like Freddy Krueger, Jason, like whatever. There are rules, so to speak, and once you figure out the rules that the characters follow, then you can kind of understand the movie, and it kind of templates itself from there. But that's kind of a whack at it a little bit. But for the most part, there are threads here that kind of very intertwined movie that you have to understand like what's going on. And I'm not gonna lie, I had to go back and watch this like a couple scenes like a time or two and be like, oh, okay, all right, like quiet the engineer brain, and then like, just see, just shut up and like watch what's on the screen and like just go with that. So
yeah, and I like that the core of the movie is about family. And also I was going to say that we try not to do spoilers, too many spoilers for movies that we discuss, just in case we inspire you to. But in talking about this movie, we're not going to spoil how it ends, but we are probably going to spoil some of the surprises in the movie. So if you want to go into the movie completely blind, go ahead and pause it. We both recommend it. Go watch it.
Absolutely.
And then come back if and hear our complete discussion. But again, that's if you don't want any spoilers at all. But again, we won't spoil the ending on the movie, but we will talk about elements that may kind of spoil it if you want to go in blind. But yeah, that's the only caveat we're going to put out for here. But yeah, so basically it's about family and the conflict between a mother and her daughter, a mother and her father,
Yep.
a wife and her husband, all centered around the Evelyn character, which is the one that's tied to all these relationships, and
Right.
um, and it's that's the core of the movie, so that they can hang all this absurdity on it, but at the core there's something that you could tie in personally with the character and understand the motivations for each of the characters, so that you're never completely lost, because even if you're seeing multiple versions of the same character, there's a core to those characters that are there that you could latch onto, and you're not going to be, hopefully, I was never completely lost as far as what the dynamic between the characters were.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Once you realize that this is the Hoke and Spob, Hope, excuse me, hub and spoke. Good God, of the main character and the mom, and then you kind of
Mhm.
understand husband, daughter,
Mhm.
dad. You
Yep.
know that from her perspective, like it kind of
Mhm.
falls in place. And like the best way that I can describe this is what's on the screen right now, which is it's just a tapestry of storylines that
Mhm.
you are along the ride for, and it's
Mhm.
it's very enriching. And
Mhm.
like I said, like I had to rewind a couple different
Mhm.
fights, and I don't want to get into
Mhm.
spoiler details, like you said, but uh, this is this is really good. I was
Yeah.
I remember when Parasite came out because it's a foreign film, and
Mhm.
I remember watching that and being amazed by it, and kind of
Mhm.
like one of those good story or good movies, like where you don't know what to think after you see it,
Mhm.
that I'm always in
Yeah.
search of.
Right.
This is definitely one of those movies
Mhm.
for sure. I
Yeah.
was they did. I don't know how they did this, but like I'm just fascinated by it. Like, and I'm a big fan, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that it hasn't been spoiled by the main. It hasn't hit the mainstream. Like where it could
Mhm.
be ruined by another.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
It
you
just
don't get all those memes that spoil the ending of the movie, or spoil
yeah,
the
just in
the
general, yeah,
various surprises. Yeah.
it's American media, and I'll channel my brother-in-law here. It's very boring when you get down to it. So in some aspects, like
Uh,
you know what you're going to get with American media, but like with a foreign thing, and this is what I love about your deep knowledge of this stuff is like there's things out there that are just really good
mhm.
if you just like give it the time of day. But and this was like a very
Mhm.
good surprise. Like I, this is like a good favorite. I don't know how it ranks or whatever, but like I'm still processing it. But I love
Mhm.
definitely love for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess the biggest surprise, and it happens early on, is that Short Round is back. Short
Oh,
Round, yeah,
right.
the actor K, what's his name? I'm bad with
Okay,
names.
something.
Uh, K Hugh Kwan, K Hugh
Yeah.
Kwan. Yeah, he's back. He was in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and the Goonies, and then he kind of dropped out of acting, and he just recently got back into it, and he does an incredible job. He dropped out because there wasn't very many roles for him, so, or he was, I guess, wasn't offered that many. But yeah, it's a shame, because yeah, he's such a fun guy.
God.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think a week or two ago in our grab bag, we had uh, posted a picture of him and Harrison Ford. They got together at a Disney event not too long ago. But yeah, it's nice to see him back. Hopefully, he'll this revitalizes his acting career, and we'll see him in more stuff. But yeah, it was a kind of a welcome sight to see him, and as soon as I heard his voice, I knew it was him. So there wasn't any way to mask that. But yeah, his Evelyn, the character, um is very interesting as a protagonist because she's not easy to like person. She has her own inner turmoil, and she's at the beginning, definitely at the beginning of the movie, she's kind of lashing out at the family just because of her inner turmoil. And his name's Wayman Wong, the Kay Hughes character, the husband to Evelyn, and he's such a breath of fresh air, and just trying to, even though you find out very early on in the movie that he's thinking about divorcing her, he's still being the bright spot in the family and trying to still pull everything back together, even though at the same time thinking about divorcing her. But yeah, that his anchor, he kind of anchors the movie and provides that maybe our eyes into the world, and kind of that hopeful kind of, I sure hope this, this movie goes in the way that we hope it will,
develop to. Yeah, well, that's the thing, is like when you're introduced to these characters, you see there's a lot of, and this is, well, I won't get into that, but there's a lot of unhappiness, and like your job kind of is from the audience perspective is to figure out what are they unhappy about. Like obviously she's not happy with marriage, and that sets up that thing, and like that causes conflict with the daughter, and understanding like what's going on with that. And this also kind of goes back to like what I say and what you say a little bit, which is there are so many ways that you can introduce new things to the storyline. You don't have to hammer the audience over the head with the message, so to speak, or like that thing, like where it can organically develop, but without somebody telling you by exposition or whatever, like beating you over the head with it, that it's part of the tapestry of the storyline, and you get into it eventually. But this is just like an onion, a lot of layers to it, for sure. And you may be crying. I mean, I didn't, but it is very emotional, and I could see like where folks would, they would, it would resonate very deeply with them, like with whatever's going on, because again, this is from the center point of the mom, and her relationship with the daughter, with the husband, with her dad, like all that's, this is like where the soap opera part is important, for the most part. Plus interdimensional monsters and martial arts, wonderfully interwoven with the storyline, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And so Evelyn, the multiverse aspect comes in that she's able, there's this evil entity that has access. There's multiverses where there's multiple versions of yourself that can by different decisions that you make, you create there's different versions of you. And so each version of you maybe have an expertise in one thing or the other. And so this one evil entity has access to all of her multiverse people all at once, so to speak, kind of leads into the title. But so Evelyn's tasked with trying to access her multiple versions of herself to combat this ultimate evil. And one of the things that ties you into the story so you're never lost is again that there's that family element, but also even though you've got all these multiverses, almost I think 80 or 90% of the movie happens in that IRS building. And so you have that central location, and so you're never lost because you're always in that same place.
Right. And then like a trigger point that might help folks out is that in order to trigger like this dropping into the body of another person in a realm that has the knowledge you need, is to do something unusual. So like you have like the shoes, like putting the shoes on all weird. You have like the stapling shit to the forehead, like there's things like to like where you can kind of shift on the fly and channel something that you need at the time. But and I think that does help the audience orient itself to what the hell's going on. For sure. Like
Yeah, yeah. And the one of the writers, writer directors, I think Daniel Kwan, he he had this story and movie idea for I think over 10 years.
oh
And yeah, and he, he started, he was watching I think Rick and Morty, and when the I think it was the second season happened, he started going, oh my god, they're doing my movie. And he said
oh wow.
he had to he had to shut it off so that he wasn't either influenced or or discouraged by what they were doing on it, because they were kind of tapping into the energy that they were kind of going for. So not to say that this is anything like Rick and Morty, but yeah, there's that
No,
sort of
no.
absurdist energy that's definitely in there. And then one of the other things is, I know they did do some CGI, but a lot of the stuff that they did was practical, and I think that adds to the realness of the movie.
No, I'd agree with that for sure. I didn't know that, but
Mhm. Yeah, and I did get
I mean,
the
obviously, like
I got the
watching it, like
Blu-ray for it, and they did have some pretty good
that's right, you did.
extra few features on it. So yeah, the I kind of got a little behind the scenes. And then another unsung hero in this movie is Jamie Lee Curtis. She's almost unrecognizable in this, and she really really kind of dived into the movie, both physically and and acting wise as well.
Yeah.
And she plays the IRS agent, and she in various versions of herself, she becomes one of the villains. And there's a Matrix like scene where she kind of flies through a stairwell. That's kind of definitely ingrained in my memory as a cinematic moment that I won't easily forget.
Yeah, no, she was great. Practical effects wise, I was just looking up like that. Don't know that we're gonna go through all that, but
Mhm.
Jamie Lee Curtis, like everybody did their part, and they made it great. They made it great. New
Yeah,
favorite movie for me for sure. Like
right.
this is like one I'm like excited to share and talk about. And
Yeah.
holy cow, like she still got it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's not afraid to make herself as unattractive looking as possible. And that's
No,
why I said that she's kind of unrecognizable in this.
that's very true. Like reminded me like you kind of see this older character, kind of like geriatric or whatever, like just older,
Mhm.
like with
Mhm.
the belly and this and that, and then like
Yeah.
but changes, and then she flips into like god or monster mode or boss mode or whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it, and then kind of goes to town. It works for sure.
Yeah. And even Kwan, he has a very nice fight scene early on in the movie with a fanny pack in the IRS building.
Oh,
That
that's
might
right.
be,
Oh, that's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's it starts off like I said in an IRS building, and she's being contacted by the multiverse version of Wayman. And it really kind of clicks into, at least in my mind, very much a Matrix, like especially the first Matrix with with what's his name, Keanu running around the offices, trying to avoid the agents. There's sort of that element to the beginning of this movie, so they're able to tap into that energy. But but since you had such a different protagonist with the the middle-aged mom character, there's enough dissonance that it seems very unique and and different. And then whenever Juan goes into action mode when they're being attacked by the security guards. And then he, in that picture, you see his fanny pack. There's the big action scene where that's featured prominently.
Yeah, he has his little things, and then he takes
His
the glasses off,
earpieces.
and yeah,
Yeah.
goes to town.
And the security guards in that scene are actually a YouTube channel, the Martial Club. Let me see. Let me send their link to you so you could spotlight it in the on the screen there. There you go. They were the guys that did the movie contacted them because I guess they have a channel where they do sort of martial arts sort of action scene type things, and so that you could
Oh,
see. Oh, yeah.
well, we're not going to do that, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently I haven't been on this machine in a while, so that's okay. But anyway, yeah,
Yep.
these are the folks that did it
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and if you watch the movie, you'll notice those. If you watch have seen the channel, you'll notice those guys. But they're featured prominently in the whole in lots of the different action scenes, and again, they kind of do a kind of a funny sort of martial arts kind of style of fighting, so that kind of fit perfectly within the movie. And so yeah, it's kind of cool that they were able to reach out to a YouTube action team to coordinate the various action scenes.
Yeah, this reminded me so much of One by Jet Li. Not in this movie got a lot deeper,
Mhm,
whereas like that was a little bit more direct and more of a action movie than like this
mhm,
is. This is more of like a soap opera drama type thing.
mhm.
Um, but damn, it was just as satisfying as that movie was, if not more, actually more so, because
Mhm.
it had not just one character, but the whole family, and you were kind of pulled in and like rooting for them, you know.
Yeah.
That's what's supposed to happen with a damn good movie, you know. Like why can't we have this more?
Yeah, and it's fun in that they don't only just play around with your preconceptions or the traditions of movies. There's not usually the um, mom character that's the center action hero in the movie, but they also play around with various film styles. The film, you'll notice that sometimes it's widescreen letterbox, then it'll go 4:3, sort of the classic TV aspect,
Yeah,
and then and they use various different cameras. There's there's sort of like a kind of a there's one multiverse where she's a glamorous uh movie star, and the it's filmed very much like a one car movie, very soft and beautiful, so that those elements with the film, it wasn't jarring. You almost didn't notice the switch from aspect ratios, but you emotionally kind of felt, whenever the screen would get warm and there it was more kind of glamorous looking, that kind of helped with the scene, and kind of making you kind of click into that. Whereas when, with the action scene, with it kind of stark and bright and everything, you can see all the action elements. But yeah, I found that you could probably if you were kind of a student in film much more than us as far as how things are shot and lit and everything, this would probably be kind of a master class in how to do various various movies within one single movie.
right. And this all comes back to family, which is a very central aspect of it for sure. I'm not sure I can do it any more justice than like say watch it, but you'll be pleasantly surprised for sure, especially if you don't know what's going on. Like that's like kind of the best surprise.
Yeah, yeah, and things get kind of crazy because they have various multiverses. They don't. Yeah, I know if they had probably like a bigger budget, they could have thrown in about a lot more things. Like there's like one scene, one brief moment where it's animated, and I would like to have seen maybe some of what they could have done animated. There's one world where they're rocks, and that
Right.
was kind of fascinating. And that when you saw them as rock, you thought, at least with me, I thought, well, okay, that's just kind of a funny scene. They're just gonna kind of move on from that. No, they go back to it, and they actually pull some emotions out of you. In I kind of got kind of existential kind of thoughts and ideas from from that scene, and you would have thought that you could get that from a couple of rocks with googly eyes on there.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of like a character thing. Like at first, like the Evelyn character, like totally over the joke of googly eyes everywhere, and like she doesn't like them at first.
No.
And then it kind of goes on to like like accepting more of the family and like the love from the family as a
Mhm.
plot device kind of thing. Well, maybe not device, but it's still the same thing. Like that it reoccurs, and like in the rocks, like you can see kind of, well, I would say size, but it is animated. But in any case,
Yeah.
like it's a movie that doesn't is not afraid to take chances. It does. And
Mhm.
like you talk about a master class, like I mean, Disney, Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, Disney at large, HBO, like all the major uh, outlets take notice, because like
Right.
this is we we could have this more than
Yeah, yeah. You
worrying
could.
about like whether something is like mediocre or not, which is like kind of
Right.
like what it is on the week to week around our normal things. And anyway,
Right. Right. You could throw $500 million up on the screen, looking at you, rings of power. But yeah, if you don't have the core core writing and core concept of fame, what you're actually trying to get across to your audience. So in you can so you can make a movie that's not super expensive. I think it cost 20 million to make this movie, and you could have absurd scenes where where your characters have hot dogs for fingers, and you could still make it work. You can
right.
still pull emotional elements, pull the emotion out of you, and come away at the end with a very satisfying, very rich and rewarding movie. And I much rather have something like this. And this is definitely within my wheelhouse. I like the kind of absurd movies that tell a unique story, and also touch upon a fundamental human emotion, uh, as well. And that's a tricky thing to do, and to
Is
do well is even trickier. And yeah, and that they really pulled it off. And yeah, it's a kind of amazing. And no matter and to go back to Amazon, no amount of money that you could throw at the screen can capture that unless you have the creative minds to pull something off. I don't think if you threw $500 million at this particular movie, you would have a better movie. They did what they got across the core elements of the movie, with what they had to work with. And again, if you threw $1 billion at it, you wouldn't have got a $1 billion better movie.
Yeah, this kind of goes back to what if you go back to the original Star Wars, okay, George Lucas was hamstrung by a budget. He was very limited to what he could do or couldn't do. And this is the thing that I think is really important, and you can't plan for it, you can't calculate for it. You have to have limitations, and this is a perfect example of many great Hollywood and other movies that they can only do so much. And that animation was one that you mentioned. It's also every facial expression on the screen that you encounter, because like that's how they differentiate sometimes between, okay, this person is like channeling a multiverse, whatever, versus like the plain, I'm so done with this marriage, I'm so done with the family kind of thing that's going on. Acting. Where you like, yes, that's valid, but at the same time, like, I don't think that you could. I think that at $20 million, and I had no idea like how much was made or how much was spent to create this. You could have $20 million version of this, or 200 million. I will always take the $20 million version. Again, this is kind of like, it goes hand in glove with creativity. You have to have some kind of limitations on what you're doing. And don't get me wrong, and a bone that we have not picked, so to speak, you've kind of you mentioned it on the fly there, like, which I'm sure we'll get into for the grab bag. And there's a little bit of a demand there, and for sure on my part, your part. But Avatar. Okay, Avatar is coming out. I don't see it. They're like right now, it's just like a green light. Everything is open and like unlimited everything. I don't see that working too well. Whereas like it's a pleasant surprise at the box office and like keeps going. Like that's another part of success that we haven't touched on, or we are kind of picking, but like the only thing I can say is like, Disney, HBO, or Warner Brothers, any Paramount, like take notice.
Yeah. And it was done by A24, and A24 is known for some really great well, some bad ones too. That you can't hit them all out of the park for a studio company or a movie company anyway. But yeah, but A24, if it's A24, you're at least I take note of their movies, because maybe 8, maybe 9 times out of 10, it's going to be at least something interesting. And and to touch on another thing about good writing, this again is very much about a Chinese immigrant family, and it kind of tells that immigrant story, and that's very integrated into the movie. In But it's not a message movie. The Hollywood, at least currently, does want to push a message out, and in a very clumsily written and very badly done Hollywood movie version of this could have it could have been very bad, but because they might have pushed the message, some type of message about immigrants into the forefront, whereas if you present a family and create a realistic family, and you have actors that invest into those characters and make them real, and you feel a realness with these characters in their story, you're gonna very humanly feel their story, and understand them in a way that is, if the message came first and beat you over the head, you wouldn't have gotten it. You've been obviously kind of pushed back. Go ahead.
Yeah. That and we never do this, but I'm gonna take the license here and kind of hop up on a little bit of a soapbox for that. Like, this goes back to, like, if you want to include, I'm not even going to say the words because they are what they are, but you have a very modern family. Like, I guess that's the best way to put it, like, politely. If you have these characters and you have their various situations that mirror and reflect modern day things that parents go through, you know, you can build a beautiful storyline around that without that being like, I can't underline what you say enough of saying that, like, you can have these things that are more modern in their scope, but still do justice to them in a way that doesn't turn off the audience, doesn't beat you over the head with, like, you should be this, you should be that, whatever. Like, I don't even want to bring
Right.
that into this, but like that, just a little mini soapbox thing. Like, I wish, holy crap. If I would swear but this is a family friendly show, so, like, and I, don't want to do that, but damn, like, holy crap, man. Like, why why can't they like, there's just so many things and elements of modern life they could bring into this. You could sub out this or whatever, but, like, it's subservient to the storyline. It is not the overarching thing.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, go
Yeah.
on. So
Yeah. And then there's
sorry, my friend.
also the idea of which is true. I want to hear unique stories, and
Right.
that doesn't just mean I want a big movie about a multiverse and crazy stuff and absurd stuff I've never seen before.
No.
I want I want diversity as well.
Right.
To say a crazy hot button word, but yeah, being introduced to this family, this immigrant family, that's kind of a unique story I'm not familiar with overall, and it's very fascinating. And then there's a lot of great
It's funny.
television out there too that is exploring things that are very interesting, like one show that I've been watching, we may talk about more on the grab bag, but I think it fits here pretty well, is Reservoir Dogs, which
Yeah.
is about a Native American tribe and their struggles in modern times. And it's done by Native Americans, and it's very very fascinating glimpse into their lives. But the cool thing about writing in what it can do is, even though you're seeing a different culture, a different lifestyle, a different way of thinking,
Hmm.
you also channel into those universal similarities, and you relate to these characters, and you could tie, even though their circumstances are a bit different, you tie your own circumstances into what they're experiencing, into what you've experienced, and there's that universal connection there. Whereas, and I think that's way more beneficial and way more effective filmmaking than uh you know going in with the message and forcing your audience to face the message or whatever. Whereas if you just go in and show everybody that even though everybody's different, everybody's universally the same as well. There's that connection.
Holy crap, man. Like, what well said, well said. Like, that's the key to this thing of having diverse, I hate to say that, but like,
Uh-huh.
diverse storylines and things, like, whether you're not beat over the head with it, it just
Mhm.
naturally organically develops with the storyline.
Right,
Holy
right.
crap, man. Like, get with the program. Like, why I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
you
and
you know
yeah,
how I feel about
right.
all
Yeah,
this, for sure.
yeah,
You're
no,
on the same page, same page.
right. Absolutely. Yeah, and there's one other show that premiered this past week that I absolutely love, is Atlanta, which is about a
Oh, that's
a
right. Yeah.
manager, yeah, a manager of a rap artist. On paper, that I shouldn't be interested. It's not in my wheelhouse, not something that I would normally be
Right.
interested in, but it's such a well written show, and like the first episode is all, it's very Twilight Zone centric. It tells like three different it focuses on four different characters and tells three different stories that end up connecting at the end, but each of the stories are very Twilight inspired kind of stories, and it's such a unique thing. And in the, having watched three other seasons of these characters, you're so invested in them. You really are kind of fascinated on where that storyline is going, but each episode you never know what you're going to get, much like this movie. From scene to scene, you're never knowing what you're going to get. But
That's beautiful.
if you've written your characters and you're invested in your characters, you're going to go on that journey with them.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I think kind of to bring it home a little bit, you got to give this time of day for it to develop. This is exactly what I wish we saw more of in general, especially in IP that we both love. But it's for naught, but that's okay. That's for the grab bag. But and never mind that. Like, this stands on its own.
Oh yeah.
And when I say, and this is kind of like a cheap thing, like, well, it can be a cheap thing, but this is like one that stands on its own and more than punches above its weight. I mean, whatever analogy you want to bring, it has everything to it, like, to the point that, like, you don't know that the main character, and this is kind of like why I highlight that. I don't really think I've highlighted enough, but Judge Dredd, right? So, like, there's Stallone, and Stallone would never he would take the helmet off, whatever, versus like Carl Urban, who wore the helmet and got in the character. And you have a very, very, that is a masterclass in and of itself. Not really, but of dedication to the character and the material, like that works hand in hand. And I love this.
Oh,
Like,
well, I definitely agree with you. Go back a couple of pictures to the
oh yeah,
IRS
yeah.
office scene.
Deirdre, whatever.
Right there, yeah. One thing I'll point out, they did get that the location for the IRS building. They saw it firsthand, and then they saw how big it was, and they weren't sure that they could fill it out and use it. But everywhere else that they would go, they couldn't find something as good as that building. So so they did use it, and within the scene, in the Blu-ray, they kind of explain how they did that. In the forefront, you see how much a character her office is. Jamie Lee Curtis is definitely putting everything into her character, and her office is filled up. In her office tells a story of who she is. But then you have your outer offices that are kind of still filled in, but as you get further and further back, they they've kind of cheapened out, like very far in the back there. It's probably just a picture on a monitor, as opposed to an actual monitor with anything on it. And and how the in the diminishing back, or like those poster boards on the back wall, those are probably big printouts of that they did kind of a board or whatever. So so yeah, it's
yeah, I'm not gonna. Well, I might as well. Well, okay. So you kind of understand the character development, like, by this is the thing that I love about good to great movies. When you go back and you look at a screenshot or a scene from the film, okay, you see things that you did not see before, and I just kind of caught notice of something that I'd never paid attention to before, which is down on the, well, I won't say it, but I'll say it offline. because family friendly, and I want to keep it that way. So
you're talking about her awards, I guess.
yep.
Actually,
I did not notice that before.
I well, she points it out at one point during this scene, her
I forgot
award,
about that.
and I go, and it's sort of like I forget whose role of direction that is, where the thing is, if you see a gun in the beginning, one of the first scenes, that gun needs to play out somewhere towards the end, and that's true for her awards. That's all I'll say. And that kind of triggered something in my mind when I saw those awards. She pointed them out, and I was like, that's probably going to come in later, but how? And I was surprised, but not surprised.
Yep.
But
Yep. So that's a key indicator that you should go watch this movie.
yeah, and you may think you know, but you don't know. But yeah, so but to get back to the dressing of that scene, even though you could probably stare at it and kind of see the imperfections and what they did to kind of trick you into believing that room was full. In the movie, it's spotless. You think everything, it's a working office. Whereas if you walk down that through those cubicles to the back, you'd see the facade would drop away, and you would see that what movie magic they provided to fill out that office.
Man, what hell it is to live in an office. I'll say that.
Yeah, the cubicle jungle.
we were there once upon a time. No longer.
Yeah, there's very much a politic as far as how high your cubicle walls are.
True, very true.
Yeah. You know who's important, who has their walls and and whatnot. But yeah, yeah, and the daughter, we should point out the daughter is really amazing in this as well.
She is.
Hasu, or I forget how to pronounce her last name, but yeah, she's she's quite a character. I think they originally were going to have the actress Aquafina as the daughter, but from I think it was scheduling that kept her from being in it. But I think this girl that they got to play did a fantastic job. Aquafina was in Shang-Chi. I know she's like a comedian or whatnot. My older sister's a big fan of hers, but yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. No, I brought her up. Where'd that go? For sure. Yeah. I don't know that I have much more to say, but go see this movie.
And one last shout out is to James Hong. He plays the grandfather in it. He's a 93. He did an amazing job in this movie. He's I know him from Big Trouble in Little China, but he's in bunches of movies. James Hong, he's up towards the top there. Yeah, he plays Gong Gong. There he is.
Yeah, he plays dad to the mom.
Yep. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, he was in Panda and Kung Fu Panda. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Big Trouble in Little China. But yeah, it was just to see him, and even though he's 93, he had one of the best performances in the movie. I mean, all the performance, especially of the core family and Jamie Lee Curtis, all of the acting was spotless. And yeah. And did you notice Randy Newman in the movie?
Not at all.
Rakakuni.
Okay.
There's a throwaway line in the, yeah. There's a throwaway line in the movie where Evelyn, you think she makes a mistake in referring to the movie Ratatouille with the rat that
right.
that's under the chef's hat. and she calls it Rakakuni, and her family thinks that's funny. But in another multiverse, instead of a rat under the hat, it's a raccoon. And that's a plot line that plays through the movie. And the animatronic
Heard
of the
about that.
raccoon, yeah, the animatronic of the raccoons, very cartoon like and very unrealistic, but it plays very well in the movie. And instead of just getting a nobody to voice the raccoon, they got Randy Newman, the legendary musical
Awesome.
talent, Randy Newman.
I would okay. That sews that up. All right, cool. I thought, oh, it's Ratatouille. It's not, whatever. Like, but okay, cool. Awesome, awesome. Anything else to add, my friend?
I think that covers it all. Of course, I always think of something afterwards, but then that is what it is. I know in a multiverse, there's a podcast of us where I mention everything and don't forget anything, but that's not this one. So we're just gonna be. There's a line in it where what was it that he said? The husband says, the multiverse husband says to Evelyn that she knows she's the one because she's not good at anything. Wasn't didn't couldn't wasn't able to do anything, or be a perfect anything in her life, or something to that effect, wasn't it?
Right. Where the central focus of the movie is like it's about the fleeting moments between you and daughter, you and husband, you and dad, like that kind of thing. Like, it's a little
Yeah, it's
quite
and
quite
it's
more
also
than that, but you get the point. Yeah.
right, and she's sort of a character in wasted potential, in almost in a sense, because you
Sure.
realize in all these multiverses that she did all these epic things. And one, I made a joke about the pinky muscles. She built up her pinky through martial arts and was a master. But the thing is, yeah, that's all within you. And she was able to pull all that out within herself, and discover who she really is within the movie. So yeah, I guess it's also a lesson in exploring who you are, and you're going to be better for that if you do that.
It is. It is. Take stock and enjoy what's in front of you, and I think you'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and make more human movies. I don't care about big explosions.
Yeah.
Tell us engaging, exciting stories. You could you could even put hot dogs on people's fingers, and you're still gonna have us if you tell a great story.
Right, this is what I'm saying, and this is what we'll get into. And if you stick around, like, comment, subscribe, tell us what we did
Yeah.
right, tell us what we did wrong. We are
Oh
always
yeah.
looking for
Tell us
feedback.
yeah, tell us if we're wrong. Tell us why we're wrong. Yeah. But if you agree, say, hey, I agree.
Yeah, and we're rolling up here on doing this thing for quite a while.
Mhm.
And we would love to hear the feedback. And again, join us on the grab bag next this coming week on Wednesday. You'll
Mhm.
see it,
Yep.
and anything other. We cover a lot of material, but we'd
Yep.
love to hear from you.
Yeah, it's a grab bag. So we talk about news, we recommend things. We we have a soapbox where we get up and say what we want. You got a little taste of it in this podcast, and then also we have a thing called the Cringe Corner, where we focus in on
Oh,
things that we find cringy on the internet, in the world, on movies, wherever. We'll point and kind of spotlight what's
yeah.
cringy out there.
It's always cringy to not listen to the fandom a little bit, the nerdom,
Mhm.
as it were. But in
Yep.
any case,
Yeah.
I've been Mike.
And I'm Thomas.
See you on the flip side.
See you in the multiverse. Keep it real.